You are born in a tent made of felt and animal hide, somewhere on the open grass of the eastern steppe, in the year 1202. Not in a village, not in a city. There is no city. There is grass in every direction until the grass touches the sky. And there is wind, and the wind never stops. It is winter. Of course it is winter. On the steppe, winter is not a season. It is a hunter. Your mother gives birth squatting on a felt rug while the fire smokes in the center of the tent. There is no doctor. There is no midwife with clean hands. There is an ant, a knife, and a prayer to the eternal blue sky. And here is the first piece of bad news. Roughly half of the children born beside you this winter will be dead before they learn to walk. Cold, hunger, a fever nobody has a name for. Congratulations, my friend! You survived the easy part, because you have just been born a Mongol, and in less than 20 years, a man from your own grasslands will point at the horizon and send you to conquer more of the world than any army in human history. You will not enjoy it. Let me show you why. Your father is a herder. That is the whole of it. He owns sheep, goats, a few cattle, and horses. The horses matter more than you do, and I say that with only slight exaggeration. When your father first looks at you, he does not ask if you are healthy. He asks if you are strong. There is a difference, and on the steppe, the difference is everything. A healthy child eats. A strong child survives the ride. Your home is a jir, a round tent of wooden lattice wrapped in thick felt, with a hole in the roof for smoke and a door that always faces south. It can be taken apart in under an hour and rebuilt somewhere else by nightfall because you will never live in one place. Not once. Not ever. You will spend your entire childhood moving, and you will never think this is strange because you have never seen a person who stays. You eat meat and milk. That is the menu. Boiled mutton, dried curd hard enough to break a tooth, and fermented mare's milk that everyone drinks, including children, including you. There is almost no bread, no vegetables, no fruit, not because your people are savages, but because nothing grows here. You cannot farm the steppe. The steppe farms you. By the time you are 3 years old, you're on a horse. Not sitting on one while an adult leads it. Riding. A small bow is put in your hands not long after, sized to your arms, and you are expected to hit things with it. There is no ceremony to this. Nobody tells you that you are becoming a warrior. You are simply a boy who must eat, and on the steppe, riding and shooting is how a boy eats. This is the first thing the movies get wrong about you. Nobody trained you to be a soldier. You were trained to survive, and then somebody noticed that surviving on the steppe and destroying an empire required almost exactly the same skills. By the time you're 7, you can shoot from a moving horse. Think about what that actually means for a moment. You are controlling an animal with your legs alone at speed over uneven ground while holding a bow that takes more strength to draw than your own body weight, and you are timing your release to the instant when all 4 hooves are off the ground so the shot stays true. You do not know this is extraordinary. Every boy you have ever met can do it. Your hands are already ruined, cracked from the cold, calloused, permanently smelling of horse and smoke and grease. You will never be able to wash that smell out. In 40 years, when you are dying, you will still smell like this. Then comes the great hunt. Once a year, sometimes for an entire month, thousands of men ride out in an enormous circle that stretches for days of travel. Slowly, the circle tightens. Every animal inside it is driven inward. Deer, wolves, foxes, hares, everything. No animal is allowed to escape. If one slips through your section of the line, you will answer for it, personally. And here's the part nobody tells you. This is not a hunt. This is a rehearsal. The men riding beside you are learning to hold a formation across 100 miles of open ground without breaking, without speaking, without seeing each other. They are learning to close a circle around a living thing that is trying very hard to live. In a few years, the thing inside the circle will not be a deer. It will be a Persian city, and you are 13 when the tribes stop killing each other. For your entire childhood, the steppe has been a slow civil war. Your people raid and are raided. Men are killed over stolen horses and stolen wives and grudges older than your grandfather. Then a man named Temujin wins. And he does not simply defeat the other tribes. He dissolves them. He takes the men of every clan, including yours, and he mixes them. He breaks apart the old loyalties on purpose and reassembles every fighting man into groups of 10. 10 men. Your arban. And these 9 strangers are now your brothers, whether you like them or not. The world will remember this man as Genghis Khan. You will simply call him the Khan, and you will never once see his face. Now, before I go further, I need to tell you about the 10 men, because this is the single most important fact of your entire adult life. Your arban is not a squad, it is a chain. If one of those 10 men runs from a battle, all 10 are executed. If one of them deserts in the night, the other 9 die for it. If one is captured and the rest do not go back for him, that is a death sentence too. Your survival is now permanently attached to 9 men you did not choose. This is the law of the Khan, the Yasa, and it is not decoration. It is enforced. There is a famous rule that if the rider ahead of you drops something from his saddle and you do not stop to pick it up and return it, you can be killed for it. Read that again. Not fined, not whipped, killed. For not picking up a dropped item. Is this insane? Yes. Does it work? Also yes. This is why an army from an empty grassland will shortly be riding through the gates of Baghdad. You are given your equipment, and it is much less than you imagine. A composite bow of horn, wood, and sinew glued together over the course of a year and capable of killing a man at a distance most European archers would consider a rumor. 2 of them actually. One strung, one resting, and you alternate them by the day. Arrows. Many, many arrows. Different heads for different jobs, and a whistling arrow that screams in flight used for signals, and used because a screaming arrow does something useful to the enemy's mind before it does anything to his body. A curved saber. A knife, a rope, a felt coat, leather armor if you are lucky, sometimes with a silk undershirt, because silk does not tear easily and can be pulled back out of a wound, dragging the arrowhead with it. And 4 to 6 horses, not 1. Your horses are the reason you will outrun the world. You are 18 when you ride west, and this is where I have to break the myth. You have seen the paintings, the horde, thousands of screaming men pouring over a hill with fire in their eyes. Here is what it is actually like. It is boring. It is unbelievably, grindingly boring, and it is cold, and it goes on for months. You ride. That is the war. You ride for weeks across land you have never seen, sleeping in the saddle, rotating between your horses so none of them collapses. You cover distances that other armies cannot believe, and that is not because you are fierce. It is because you are efficient. You carry your own food, which means dried meat and dried milk curd. And when there is nothing left, you open a small vein in your horse's neck, drink, and close it again. Your horse survives. So do you. You have no supply train, no wagons of bread, no baggage line stretching behind you for miles. This is why you move like a rumor while your enemies move like furniture. And you are filthy. Constantly, permanently filthy. Lice in your clothes, in your hair, in the felt of your coat, sores where the saddle has rubbed for 6 weeks without rest, teeth loosening, fingers that no longer close all the way. Nobody paints that part. Then you reach a city, and you learn the second thing the stories get wrong. The stories say you are a savage who kills for the joy of it. The truth is colder than that, and worse. A city is offered terms. Open the gates, submit, pay, live. Many cities do exactly that, and they are largely left alone because a living city that pays is worth more than a dead one. But if a city refuses and the siege costs Mongol lives, the response is total, and it is deliberate, and it is designed to be talked about. Because the real weapon is not you. The real weapon is the story about you that arrives before you do. And you are the one who has to make that story true. You are 22 years old, standing in a street in a city whose name you cannot pronounce, and you are doing something you will not describe to anyone for the rest of your life. Nobody asked whether you wanted to. The 9 men of your arban are watching. The law is the law, and somewhere behind you is a commander who is promoted on merit, not birth, which means he is very good at his job, and his job is you. Let me stop for a moment here. If you have made it this far into this life with me, then you already know what I am about to ask, and you already know I am slightly embarrassed to ask it. This kind of video takes a genuinely stupid amount of time. The research, the writing, the voice, the images, the edit, all of it, one person, many days. So if you are enjoying the way I tell these stories, a like helps more than you would think, and subscribing helps even more, and it costs you nothing but a second of your thumb. Right, that is enough begging for one lifetime. Let us go back to your miserable one. You are 26, and you are in the middle of the fastest thing that has ever happened to a human being. In the space of a few years, you have ridden through Central Asia, across Persia, past the Caspian Sea, and into lands where nobody has ever heard of a Mongol. In the year 1223, near a river called the Kalka, your army meets the combined princes of the Rus. The enemy sees you break and flee. They chase you for days, strung out and disorganized and certain they are winning. You are not fleeing, you were fishing. When the trap closes, it closes the way the great hunt closed on the deer because it is the same maneuver taught to you when you were a boy on grass with your father watching. You win. You win so completely that Europe will spend the next 20 years having nightmares about it. And what do you personally get out of this? A share. A genuine share, actually. The Khan's law says loot is divided by rank and merit, not stolen by whoever grabs it first. and that is more fairness than most soldiers in history ever saw. But think about what you can do with silver on a horse. You cannot buy a house, because you do not live in houses. You cannot buy land, because your people do not own land. You send some home to your wife and your mother, and you carry the rest, and eventually most of it goes to somebody higher up anyway. You conquered half the known world, and you still live in a tent. You are 34 when your body sends the bill. It comes for the shoulder first, the bow shoulder which now aches every single morning and locks in the cold, then the hips ruined by 3 decades in a saddle, then a wound in your thigh that closed badly and never stopped hurting. Here is the truth about how men like you die, not gloriously. Most Mongol soldiers who died on campaign did not die under a hero's sword. They died of infection, of dysentery, of a small cut that turned black, of a winter that simply outlasted them. Of your original 10, 4 are dead. 1 in a siege, 2 of sickness, 1 you do not talk about. You are still riding. You are 45, which on the steppe is not old, it is unusual. You are home if a moving camp can be home. You have a wife you have seen perhaps a third of your marriage. You have sons who ride better than you now, and who look at you the way you once looked at the old men who had been to Persia. And they ask you what it was like, and you find you cannot explain it. You cannot explain the sound 100,000 horses make. You cannot explain the silence in a city after. So you tell them about the horses and the hunting and the funny thing that happened at a river crossing in a country with no name. You leave out the rest. Everyone always leaves out the rest. Your grandchildren will grow up in a world that speaks of the Mongols as a single terrifying word, and not one of them will know your name. The empire you built will outlive you by a century and then eat itself, split between grandsons who never rode as far as you did. Was it worth it? Ask the man who saw the Caspian Sea when his father never saw past the next valley, and he will say yes. Ask the cities, and they will not answer, because there is nobody left in them to ask. You did not conquer the world. You were simply the arrow, and somebody else drew the bow. So when someone hands you a cause and tells you it is your destiny, ask who is holding the bow, and ask what they get when you land. This was your life as a Mongol soldier. I have been Mr. Chronicle, and I am going to leave now.